This podcast is brought to you by our amazing supporters over on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s to find out how you can get more than 26 bonus episodes of this show right away and available on your favorite podcast app. No matter which one you prefer, you can get our Patreon episodes right in there, not have to worry about learning a new app or losing some favorite feature of yours. That's patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. And as a bonus, while we're on hiatus, folks on Patreon will continue to get their episodes in April and potentially June if we go that long. So visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s to learn more now. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Tripp, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers. And with me, as always, my tag team partner and my DeLorean co-pilot for the last 10 years that we have been covering Back to the Future movies and everything else on this podcast, the Macho Man Drew.
Andrew Leno. I mean, we could still do the ride at one point.
The ride could be a good bonus app, I think. I was going to save this for episode 300, but I'm going to bring it up now here before I throw it to you. If you want to retire the bit with this one, I think you could retire the bit with this one.
The thing, whatever.
Yeah.
That might do that.
So think about it. But I think like if we were going to retire, we've retired bits over the course of the show. We've been doing it for a long time. We'll figure out a new intro if we do retire the bit. But I just, if you want to retire the bit, we could retire the bit.
I'll think about that.
Yeah. So we, of course, watched Back to the Future 3 because it's my pick for Favorites-bruary, and I'm about to turn 38. Jesus Christ. But we watched it, and you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your time paradox. It's your time paradox.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott.
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So this is the final episode on the main feed before we go off for a little hiatus. We're going to have a bonus episode on Patreon later this month in February. I think I mentioned this on the main feed. I hope to God I did, and this isn't the first time we've mentioned it.
I think so, but
I thought that
knows?
I did. Yeah. I'm having a kid in March, and so we're gonna go dark so that we can record some like extra stuff, for the Patreon and things. And Andrew's got travel coming up. I have a kid on the way, and so we got things in the way, and that's what we're gonna do. The plan is to take off March, April, May, and return in June. We'll see, if that happens, and if not,
June's a busy month for me. Who knows?
Yeah. So we may extend it into July. We'll see how it goes with having a baby and all those things. We're going to keep putting back catalog episodes out during it. We're also going to do a Patreon episode unlocked here on the main feed for everybody to get a sample of what you've been missing. There's some great stuff there, and we think
if there's anything that you see in the archives on the website that you're like, I want to hear that episode, you can blue sky us. I don't know. Is there a verb yet for blue sky?
Yeah, I like blue sky us. That works for me.
You say blue ski sometimes among my friend group.
You could also, email us, dissectingthe80s@gmail. You leave us a voicemail at 856-DISSECT. Any of those things would be just fine. But yeah, please get in touch if there's a specific episode you want to hear. But we'll keep stuff coming out. I'm trying to keep you all updated on the blue sky and other stuff. Trying to get better about the social media stuff. I know I suck at it. Trying to be better. Don't really like it, to be honest with you.
It's hard to do.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. We'll be doing this episode, and like I said, we will not stop Patreon content. That will keep coming out. April and June will definitely be on there, and February for sure. So if you're missing us and want fresh stuff, that's where you can find it. And we're just really appreciative that people listen to the show. So the plan is to come back. This is not supposed to be the final episode or anything like that. It would be, I'll be honest, pretty tragic not to at least get to 300. So I feel like even if we go on hiatus and we decide you know what, we're done, I think we'd come back and get to 300.
How far away are we?
It's close. I think this is 294.
Okay, so we're within 10, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think this might be $2.94, $2.95.
Counting
obviously,
Patreons or no?
Patreon. So the first, at least one Patreon didn't count. I think I can't remember when I started just numbering those as part of the regular episodes. It's sort of like an enticement to get people to sign up for Patreon if they were completionists like myself, because I know that's been an enticement for me on Patreon. But so there's at least a couple unnumbered episodes, and then we've had a bunch of bonus episodes of the year that haven't counted. It's like we have put out more than 300 episodes.
Gotcha.
Because like remember you directed the show and we did an episode about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we have. I think I did one with Mom on the Pillsbury Bake Off a long time ago. I don't know if that's still. I think that's in the archives
in the first year. I think actually.
Yeah. So like just stuff like that, and then we had like interviews. The Phil Nobile, like Batmobile. That's sorry. He told us how to say it, and I was trying to remember it. Ted Gagan, who's I don't know if I said this on the podcast or wrote it in the thing, but his latest movie I enjoyed quite a bit, and now I just forgot the name of it, which is super embarrassing. But it was kind of like a parlor mystery with ghosts.
Oh, I did hear about that because I think I follow him on Instagram.
I want to say it's called Brooklyn something. I'm going to look it up because I don't want to get it wrong. I want to shout out his movie, Brooklyn 45. Okay, I knew I was close. Brooklyn 45, which came out a couple of years ago now, but enjoyed that quite a bit. I like his stuff. So yeah, we've had those episodes, like those bonuses and things of that nature. So we've put out more than 300 episodes, but I'd like to get to 300 numbered if we decided, you know what, that's it. But I'm just saying that is your, oh God, the podcast going away, isn't it? This is a trap. It's like, we at least have to come back and get to 300.
That's fair.
If we decide that we want to pull the plug. But that's not the plan. The plan is to come back, but just, having a kid, trying to make myself not lose my mind. That's what we're aiming for here. So, yeah, let's get into.
Are we doing pitches up top, or are we doing them at the end? Or
no, I want to set this up for people, and so people can think about their own pitches while we're listening to the episode. So I texted Andrew last night while I was watching, and I was like, "All right, I want to talk about this on the Back to the Future 3 episode. Give me your 3 different types of pitches for the Back to the Future 4. I want the Lego sequel, the like standard Hollywood Lego sequel TM. The Gremlins 2 variant, like what is your off the wall crazy idea for what a Back to the Future 4? I thought you might. I thought you might be inspired by that. And then third is like, what is the thing you actually think would be best? And if it is the same as one of the other ones, that's fine too. But just like that's your 3 ideas.
Okay.
And I was curious how like close our ideas would end up to each other.
I have a feeling where they're both gonna be very different. Like both all of them are gonna be very different from each other's. I have a feeling. My Lego sequel took a turn, and I'm not mad about it.
Okay. I was gonna say Lego sequel. I feel like we're probably in the ballpark because we're trying to mimic this. We're trying to make the same joke.
I threw a twist in mine that is a bit of a gamble, but I think it pays off.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to get to those, but we let people have, some time to think about what they might think we're going to come up with their own ideas. And hey, throw us your ideas on Blue Sky, as we just mentioned being on there. Love to hear your pitches for Back to the Future 4. Just to be clear, a movie I think they absolutely should not make.
No,
but
I do think that I think the iron is a little too cold for a Back to the Future 4.
I don't know, man. I feel like everybody still loves these characters, and there's like
they do, but I guess Christopher Lloyd still does some acting.
Yeah, he's still getting out there and doing stuff. He was just in like the Spirit Halloween movie.
But, okay, yeah. To say he was in the Spirit Halloween movie is generous.
Did you watch the Spirit Halloween?
I did, yeah. It's cute.
Okay, I lasted like 6 minutes and was like, this is dumb.
I mean, it's like a made-for-TV Goonies.
Okay.
Basically. But he's physically in it for the first... I'm going to be generous and say 5 minutes of the movie.
Oh, okay.
And then he dies as a result of a curse, and it's just voiceover for the rest of it.
Okay. I feel like he was in at least 1, if not 2 of those Piranha movies.
Oh, well, you would know more than me. You're the... Piranha Head.
You've still never seen Piranha 3D?
No.
You gotta check this box. I'm telling you would like it.
That's the new one, right?
Or is it it's Adam Scott and Elizabeth Shue is the sheriff.
Okay. I mean, this is doing it for me. I love her. You know, I will watch most anything with Elizabeth Shue in it.
Eli Roth gets killed really gnarly.
I do like that.
Really gnarly. Jerry O'Connell plays like a scummy version of the Girls Gone Wild guy, and he gets it really bad.
Cool.
So like lots of innocents get it, which I know bothers you in those kind of movies, but a lot of the bad people get it bad. It's just a ridiculous
hit a button. That's the only time I will say AI is okay. Is I want an AI to edit out all the like innocent people deaths.
Yeah, I mean, like there's a very well endowed woman getting dipped, in like a tea bag doing the parasailing.
Mm-hmm. Then she comes up with no legs.
It's like, yeah, basically. But I think it might be no breasts. Like I think it might be like her implants are floating in the water.
Hang on.
Is she
Supermaning over the water?
She's getting dunked all the way up to her neck.
And only her boobs get eaten.
The fish get her all over, but they attack her breasts, and the breast implants are like floating.
Got it.
And then she's dead.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Look, I'm not saying it's fucking high art, but it was like the most fun 3D movie. Adam Scott rules in it. Elizabeth Shue is awesome in it.
I mean, Adam Scott's good in, I think, everything I've ever seen him do.
Richard Dreyfuss basically plays Hooper for 5 minutes in the beginning.
Okay. Even though he's apparently a shithead.
Yeah, but like you'll be fine with that because he dies.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Anyway, Piranha 3D, a movie I like. Period. Moving on.
End of review.
The first, I don't know when we reviewed Back to the Future 1, but we reviewed Back to the Future 2 on Back to the Future Day, which was October 21st, 2015.
23rd, I thought.
I literally looked it up before we started.
I swear I thought it was the 23rd.
I was like, we're about to record. I have to look up the date. So maybe that was wrong, but I have 10/21/15, which feels right to me. But we released Back to the Future 2 on that day.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're almost 10 years later closing the loop on the trilogy. It is January of 2025. Life is very different for both of us. I did not go back and listen to that one, but maybe I'll put that out as the first bonus. Maybe I'll do the Back to the Futures if they're in the archives for
there you
March.
go, yeah.
But so I put this disc in last night. I got the Blu-ray set as you do, and the movie starts, and I thought that I put in the wrong movie.
Also, shockingly, not streaming anywhere as of February 5th.
Insane that this just
it always like I see it on Peacock all the time. They do the Back to the Future collection.
It's a Universal movie. Why is it not just always on Peacock? I don't understand.
I think so. I think that's money because places will pay. But if it's not anywhere, if it's not anywhere else, just put it on Peacock.
Right.
Don't you own it?
I got on a real wild tangent at the start of this movie because
to your wife or to yourself.
No. I was watching this movie by myself. But the casting name comes up and it's Mike Fenton. And I just
like casting.
You
mean casting by Mike Fenton?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The casting director. I just hosted a screening of Groundhog Day at the Alamo Draft House over the weekend on Groundhog Day. We're recording this at the beginning of February. I just hosted a screening and I remember his name coming up because the guy who does lighting for Dave Matthews Band is named Fenton, and so the name stuck out to me. I was like, oh, Mike Fenton. And then I saw it again. I was like, oh, Mike Fenton. I should IMDb this guy. Let me blow your mind with the things that this man was involved as casting director on.
Okay.
Blade Runner.
I still haven't seen that one.
Toy Story.
Okay.
Muppets Christmas Carol. Last Crusade. Temple of Doom, and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay. Well, I mean, makes sense. Zemeckis and Spielberg.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, The Burbs, Goonies, Johnny Dangerously, Footloose, E.T., Poltergeist, Slapshot, Marathon Man, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Young Frankenstein, Godfather Part 2, Spielberg's first movie, The Sugarland Express, Chinatown, American Graffiti, and then the funniest one to me is in 2014, after not having done anything in 5 years, he does Sharknado 2.
He probably just like owed someone a favor.
Somebody, maybe he was owed a favor, perhaps. But like, what a fucking career! That's like That is like big name movie of the decade that people remember across 4 decades.
That's wild.
Yeah. So anyway, I was delighted by that. Doc's big letter is
I say it every time, but I love this score.
Oh, it's really good. The other thing that I thought was really interesting watching it this time is he really nails the Western parts too. Like my wife and I travel a lot at the national parks and we go out the American West for that. And in the American West, at least if you're a movie nerd like me, the thing you're hearing in your head is the sound of like the Magnificent Seven and all these, Westerns from that era. And Silvestri really nails that era of like 60s Western, 50s Western with the parts of this that aren't the Back to the Future score.
Yeah, for sure. Without being too obvious, I would say.
So we have the big letter from Doc. So I thought I put the wrong disc in because I was like, doesn't this just kind of pick up right from the scene in the rain at the end of Back to the Future 2? But it doesn't. He's back downtown.
Yes. It's like a few minutes before the end of 2.
Yeah. And so Marty goes back to 1985 in 1955. And then the other Marty comes running in and is like, Doc, I need your help.
And Doc's cool ass house.
Extremely cool mansion. What were we just watching, by the way, that was the street from Back to the Future? We just had it on a podcast episode, didn't we?
Oh, was it Gremlins?
No? Maybe it is Gremlins.
Gremlins, the town square, and Gremlins.
I think that's
Hill
it.
Valley.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Because the movie theater at the end
Hill Valley
is where Marty crashes in. Yeah. Doc's house rules. It is like quite a lovely mansion. I was very jealous of it. I guess mad scientisting paid better back in the day. I don't really know.
I guess. But it's also like weirdly modern looking for
it is
this house. Like you would think Doc would live in something more like prefab. Like he's like, I can't be bothered with trappings.
Yeah. I also love that the letter from Doc is like, I'm happy here in 1885. Don't come back for me. Sincerely, your best friend, who will think of you fondly until I die of dysentery.
Sincerely, your 65-year-old best friend.
Yes. Inexplicably, your 65-year-old best friend. It's like, obviously Marty was going to try to help him. And then that's before he even finds out, look, turns out Doc was shot in the back over a matter of $80.
Also, Doc's gravestone has a lot of information on it.
Yes. I couldn't get over this. Like Clara clearly was just like so smitten with this man.
Because you're probably paying by the letter.
Oh, 100%. You're paying by the letter.
It's like Doc Brown, beloved husband to Clara Clayton.
Not husband. It just said by his beloved Clara.
His beloved Clara.
They didn't get married.
But, he had a good recipe for mac and cheese.
Why did she specifically feel the need to be like, he was shot in the back over a matter of $80? And the guy was like, you want me to chisel that into the stone, lady? Like, that's pretty dark, like, right?
This tombstone borderline has an arrow pointing to the back where there's more text.
Yeah, over
with an arrow.
CONT period.
With a swirly arrow, yeah. Biff's ancestor bio from the history textbook is great too.
Oh yes, when they're doing research at the library.
It says he had a drooling problem, so they called him Mad Dog. It's like like history textbooks are silly, but they're usually not quite that silly.
Yeah. I also like the cut where they're talking about the car being hidden in a cave, and Doc's like, "Oh, we're gonna have to blast," and then the cut is the explosion on the other side. They're reading the diagram of the part that the DeLorean needs, and Marty can't read the word schematic, which I thought was pretty damn funny.
I didn't even catch that.
He's like, she, and Doc's like, schematic. He just like, he knows exactly the word that he's stuck on and helps him out there. We also find out that Doc hates the Japanese, which you would probably expect from someone in 1955 of his age.
Yeah. Although you would think a scientist would be like, not mad about the Japanese.
Yeah.
You would think he'd be like, oh, they're very innovative and I want to work with them.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. Doc's dog at this point of time is Copernicus.
who I think was the theories about the Earth not being the center of the universe.
Yeah, early astronomer, keeping with his theme of naming his dogs after famous men of science. But I also love at the point where they like get the car out of the cave, Copernicus goes to Doc Brown's tombstone and is like,
he just knows.
And it's like, well, you never even met that Doc Brown. Like, you died before. Like, before that. Yeah. So it's like, what, do you just like sense his bones in there? They're dust by now. It's been.
Well, he also has a cute little hard hat on with a light on it. So like, I'm not mad about it.
Yes.
So they take a picture of it because we need the disappearing picture act in it.
Of course.
A Back to the Future movie needs 3 things. It needs a DeLorean. It needs a pile of poop, and it needs a disappearing photo.
Manure. Yeah.
Actually, no, not even a DeLorean. It needs a Mr. Fusion.
That's fair.
So they just decide that they're going to send Marty back, but for some reason, I'm like, why don't you just send Marty back right before Doc shows up in the past? They're like, I'll send you a few days after I arrived, and that leaves you 5 days to save me. I'm like, well, theoretically, we could have gone back the moment he arrived and been like, hop on in, Doc.
Right, yeah, you would, yeah.
It could have been smarter, like, beep, beep, seatbelts, everyone.
Yes, you would think the smart play would be like, cow, there's Doc in 1885, and then, shit, Doc, get in! The doors open.
Get in, loser, we're going back to the future.
Yeah. I love this fake drive-in. It fooled me enough that I Googled, like, oh, where is this? And it was like, no, they just made it there in Utah. I also love that this is
supposed to be California, though, right? Hill Valley is in California?
Yes, but this is Monument Valley, like an incredibly famous visual that people would recognize, and it's all to just set up the fact that they needed to be there to shoot the Old West stuff. Basically, the reason this movie exists is because Zemeckis wanted to make a Western, and this was the way he could get to make a Western, which I'm fully on board with. I think it totally works. I actually might like this second best of the trilogy. I haven't watched them all recently enough to make this statement,
it's hard.
Unequivocally.
It's hard because, like, do you like 50s vibes? Do you like retrofuturism, or do you like Westerns? It's like that's...
Well, the other thing, though, is that Back to the Future 2 does so much work to set up 3 and sort of close some loops on 1 that it's maybe a little less complete feeling as a narrative itself. But I haven't watched them recently enough to like definitively do a ranking. So Marty's getup feels like something that a young gay man might wear in 2025.
I want it so bad. A backup answer for Orville Peck and or Chappell Roan.
Yeah, sure. All those things seem
Pink
exactly
Pony Club.
Right. Yeah. But the other thing I want to say about the fake drive-in is, like, we talk about all the time of like the things we miss about movies, and I don't want to do. I think it gets boring to only have that conversation. But this is such a perfect example of, like, I don't know how much it costs to build this fake drive-in, and I hope that they did like some crew screenings at least. That would be cool if they did that.
I mean, they probably didn't. The speakers probably didn't work.
Yeah, but the screen would have worked. So all you would need is a projector at that point.
Yeah.
Feels like this production could have gotten one. I don't know. Anyway, all I'm saying is they built this incredible drive-in to shoot one scene at. Like, they don't come back to the drive-in later.
No, you're right. They don't.
Because they come back on the train tracks. Yeah. So the drive-in is only for this sequence, which is like, I don't know, 3 minutes of screen time. But it makes a big difference. Everything feels very lived in and real. And it's just like, yeah, of course the drive-in's empty during the day. So I don't know. I really enjoyed that part of it. I also love the matching cut of there's like a party of Native Americans like riding like toward you under this screen in a mural. And then when he blasts through into the past, that is actually what's happening. They're being chased by the American infantry.
So I wonder, like, if the boots weren't comfortable for Michael J. Fox or what? Because
that's a good question.
They go through, like, clearly, like, he couldn't have gone, like, Doc wouldn't have been like, you're going back in your sneakers. Yeah. But they write it in that, like, he's carrying his boots, he doesn't want to wear them, and then he loses them. And it's like,
yeah.
I wonder, like, what that has to be, there's a real world explanation for why they did that.
It's a good question. It does add to the sort of fish out of water element. I also wonder, like, is it possible it's like part of the early Parkinson's diagnosis or something?
I mean,
like maybe he was having balance issues already. I don't know.
I guess balance issues, but I was gonna say, I was like, there's no like shoelaces on a cowboy boot, so that would be easier. But I guess the balancing, you're right.
Right. I'm just purely speculating here. Like, I know he has said that he was starting to have symptoms in this era, but maybe it wasn't. Also, honestly, maybe it was just like, I'm fucking Michael J. Fox and I don't want to wear these shoes. They're not comfortable. Like, they tried 8 pairs of boots and he was like, fuck this, I'm wearing the Nikes, you know? He had that clout, I would
Probably,
imagine.
but you know.
Like, we're making Back to the Future 3. I've done a Teen Wolf in here, too. Like, I'm
and that
Alex
TV
P.
show that
Keaton.
was wildly popular.
Yeah, I'm Alex P. Keaton. Like, we're doing what I say, and what I say is I'm wearing the fucking Nikes, bruh.
He was the little kid in the Pee-wee movie.
Yes, exactly. So he hides the car in the cave. The
Broken
American
fuel
Army
line and a black bear, which I think is that the most aggressive? Is it brown bear or black bear? That's like you're never gonna. You have no chance.
Grizzlies are the most aggressive.
Oh, is it grizzlies? Okay, I thought.
Yes.
For some reason, I thought it was black or brown.
Black bears are very aggressive if you get between them and cubs. I mean, all bears are aggressive if you do that, but that is the most danger for the black bears. I've been this close to a black bear, more or less, in national parks. I've never told this story on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to Grand Teton, which is just south of Yellowstone. They like basically touch each other. And we had been like doing Yellowstone stuff all day. We were like, you have to kind of drive through Grand Teton.
Is that when you wear a leopard coat and smash up a bunch of stuff in a store and drink vodka?
For what? What did I miss?
Yellowstone stuff. Like that lady in Yellowstone.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that is exactly what we were doing. We were pillaging
sassy one-liners in a leopard coat.
Yeah. So we had to drive through Grand Teton to get to where we were staying, and then the next day we were going to like spend the day in Grand Teton. But it was like, we got done a little early. Let's check off 1 or 2 things, and we'll have less stuff to do the next day. And we're not that tired. So we park at the visitor center, and we're doing this lake trail that's like 1.5 miles. We don't even put our hiking boots on. Like, we're wearing, my wife is wearing Tevas. I'm wearing sneakers or flip flops, and we're like just going to jump in the lake, which is very cold, but we're tired. Our muscles are sore. It's going to feel good. We don't bring our backpacks. We don't bring the bear spray. We're like have a water bottle in our hand. It's like a very casual stroll we're doing.
Yeah.
We go like 3/4. We swim a little bit. We enjoy ourselves. We have some nice time at the lake. We're walking back to the car, and we're coming around a blind turn, and all of a sudden I get like back of the neck all the way down to my feet, all the way down to my wrists, like every hair on my body stands up. It is like full spidey senses tingling moment. Mm-hmm. And I stop my wife, well, girlfriend at the time, but now wife, and I stop her and I go, hold on. She's like, what? And I was like, something's wrong. And she's like, what? I was like, I don't know, but my body is on full alert right now. Like, I don't know what's going on, but like I'm at maximum alert. Like I'm sensing danger. And she was like, what? I was like, I can't tell you. I don't know if it's never happened to me before.
Or a natural thing.
I've never had this happen before. I don't know what's going on, but like something is wrong. She's like, all right. So we very cautiously like come around the bend, and we see a park ranger on the trail and a small group of people. And the park ranger is like frantically telling people to move. And so we're walking towards the park ranger. Then the people are on the other side of the park ranger. So like we walk up and we see the park ranger looking out into the woods, and not like 10 yards away is a black bear and her 2 cubs.
Oh, wow.
And the reason the park ranger was so incensed is because some dipshit with a DSLR was walking straight into the woods toward the black bear, and in doing so was putting himself between the cub and the mother and like about to be between them. And the ranger was like, stop walking. It's like, you are about to cut them off from the cubs. Stop walking. And so me and the wife got a few pics, and the wife just fucking, she's down the trail. And I'm there like, all right, well, this is cool. I got to get a video. So I've got the still camera in one hand, the iPhone in the other hand. I'm like recording videos.
As long as you're behind the ranger at that point.
Yeah. That's what I said, is like, I just can't be last.
Yeah.
I see 3 old people and I am going to be faster than them. And so, I got my pictures, I got my video, and then she was like, that was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. How did you know that? And I was like, I don't fucking know. My body just sensed a bear. I don't know what happened. It's crazy.
That's your mutant ability. It is not super useful for everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
not really a save the world superpower, but
Yeah, I have sensed danger since a couple of times. Nothing like a bear, but just like, dangerous situations. So I don't know. I'm lucky in that way. My bear was untrained, so it was a little farther away from me probably, but also scarier because it wasn't. There was not a guy with a trank gun shortly off screen from me.
So he takes a tumble into his ancestors' farm, of course.
Yeah, it's really funny that this man just continuously falls ass backward into these things, and it's Seamus McFly at your service.
And what's his wife's name? Maggie?
I believe it's also Maggie. And I don't know, between Michael J. Fox and Leah Thompson, it's a real race for the bottom as to who could be the worst Lucky Charms ass accent.
Yeah, there's not a lot of dialect coaching there.
Like, oh, Sonny boy, how'd you come to be out here without a hat? It's like every Irish person who listens to the show is like, delete this episode. It's like, it's not me, it's him.
It's them. Truly, it's not us. It's not our fault.
Yeah.
Filthy brown water to drink, and he's spitting out
really...
shrapnel from the rabbit meal.
Yeah, a little bit of buckshot.
So he's, we kind of get is it not One Magic Christmas? What's Molly Monaghan? Is that?
Yeah, One Magic Christmas.
Is it? Oh, I did not realize it was the same one. Where like clearly old 1885 McFly is like, I'll give you a hat and help you out and blah blah blah, and his wife is clearly upset that he's like giving things away.
Yes. Because to be fair, it's like, I'll point you to town tomorrow. Sonny is like, and you can stay in our barn. Like, okay, not
sure you're not really giving anything. Like,
yeah. And I'll give you a set of clean clothes and a hat. It's like, okay, now wait a minute. we don't have those to give away, sir.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it's the same clothes, but it is a hat that is stupid looking.
We fed this boy. We gave him somewhere to sleep. That's enough.
Yeah.
But there's also the great split screening of, having Michael J. Fox play both of these roles. And a couple times they have like Leah Thompson cross the frame to sort of hide the transitions.
But those look really good.
They do, especially for being 40 years old or 35 years old, I guess, for this movie. But then the great one is when they're having the conversation, the husband and wife, Leah Thompson and Michael J. Fox, and other Michael J. Fox is holding his great grandfather and, talking to him. And he's like, look at how George takes to him. George doesn't like any strangers.
William.
He feels William. Yes. Sorry. George is his dad. He feels connected to us. And it's just like, okay, guys, we all get it. This is Back to the Future 3. We've seen this particular game before.
And also, we all know it's a McFly. He's already said my great grandfather was William McFly.
Yes.
Like,
also, it's Michael J. Fox. I see him. I see the man. I know who he is.
Well, it's not Michael J. Fox as the baby.
No. I was talking about. That would be horrifying. I don't want that. So we head our way into town here.
Old-timey Hill Valley theme park town.
Yep, great Western set. They're building the courthouse and the clock tower as we speak. I also love, I was thinking about this. I love that the game for Biff Tannen and by extension Mad Dog Tannen hates Manor, as if like anyone doesn't. Like, no one doesn't hate, like, everyone hates Manor. It's pretty universal. People are like, yeah, I don't particularly love shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, farmers probably don't hate it. And
I would think that they don't, like, relish being around it. It's more like I have to do this for my job, right?
Probably, but I think, like, I don't think about the fact, like, I don't actively think about hating Manor because I'm not around it. You know what I mean?
Right. But it's just so funny that, like, what's Biff's game? He's a jerk over centuries. and all generations of his family. He's a jerk. And for whatever reason, they continuously get dumped piles of shit on them.
And Mad Dog was teased in 2, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I vaguely remember that.
I think Mad Dog gets mentioned because I think they filmed these back to back, and then we're editing the first one while this was being shot. Because
you think you say you're thinking they filmed all 3 back to back, or
no,
2 and 3.
Back to the Future 2 and 3. Yeah. Back to the Future 2 comes out in 89. This comes out in 1990. I think it's only right. 6 or 8 months apart. I don't have the exact dates in front of me. The first movie came out in 85, but there's also a sequence in Back to the Future 2 where Marty watches
this Clint Eastwood.
Yes. Where he gets this idea. Biff is watching this movie and Marty watches it over his shoulder a little. But yeah, I was just cracking up when it's like we show Chekhov's manure wagon and it's like, well, Biff's going to be there later.
And Marty
it's
steps in poop.
Yes. But he's like pretty bummed about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Pat Buttram is here. Who I know from Fox and the Hound, mostly.
Crazy Western voice guy.
I assume he's been in a Westerny stuff. I know him from the Fox and the Hound.
Oh, he played a ton of Western characters, but he also would often play Western characters in cartoons.
Oh,
he'd just be like a guy with the cowboy hat on who's got a crazy voice.
There's what we're doing.
He described his voice as never making it all the way through puberty, which I think was very funny.
I'm accurate, too.
But I saw another person talking about his voice sounding like gravelly, and I was like, it doesn't sound gravelly to me at all. It sounds weird and prepubescent.
Yeah, I don't get gravelly. I get, like, constant
it's pitchy.
warble.
It's very Bobby Brady.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
And they're all making fun of Marty's outfit.
Yes. Do you take that off a dead Chinese fella? I think he uses a slur. I'm not going to use the slur.
The movie also never uses the word Native American, which is what we're going to say.
Yeah. But also that was the style at the time.
Yeah.
It would be weird if you made a movie set in 1885 and people were walking around calling people Native American.
Yeah.
That would be
First
strange.
Nation, Native American. Yeah.
Yeah. Indigenous.
Biff's gang shows up and they think Marty is Seamus, his ancestor.
Yes. And clearly, quickly that's cleared up. I also like Marty gets poured a shot of whiskey and it makes the table smoke. It's like
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, when he orders ice water, they laugh at him and he's like, we serve whiskey here, and he pours it and the table starts like it spills on the table over the shot glass and starts smoking.
Totally missed that.
We do the like dance fella and shooting at the feet, and then Marty starts moonwalking, which actually distracts all of them, which is pretty good.
And he calls. I'm gonna call him Biff because whatever. He calls him Mad Dog, which is what the history books call him, and we get like kind of a moment of historical accuracy, which is that like most of the nicknames we know famous outlaws by, you did not call them to their face. It's not like they walked in and were like, I'm Mad Dog because I got a drooling problem.
Yeah. That's most of those nicknames I feel like aren't so derogatory. Like, I don't, maybe Billy the Kid didn't like getting called kid.
Well, like Bugsy Malone or Bugsy Siegel. He's the real one. Like, Bugsy meant crazy.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, you didn't.
I was just thinking of like
call him Bugsy.
The Sundance Kid and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. We get a nice being dragged behind a horse stunt for Marty, or Marty's stunt double. Well,
first he moonwalks, then he jumps on a loose board and launches a spittoon at Biff, which is pretty good looking.
That's gotta be accidental, right? Like Marty doesn't.
Oh, I don't think it doesn't appear that Marty does it on purpose. It appears he does like, oh shit, that just happened, and then the crazy voice guy and his friends, are like, you better run, son.
And then he gets dragged behind the horse.
Yes. Biff drags him to the clock tower that's being built, and it's like, we got ourselves a courthouse, but we've got to have our first hanging. So they string Marty up by his neck, and in walks Doc with this scope that he has constructed.
And this like
shoots
Joker length gun.
Yes. It's a rifle, at least. It is.
Even rifles aren't supposed to be that long. I don't know anything about guns, but I know that they're not supposed to be that long.
They come up to like your chest from the floor. They're like 3 feet longish.
This one looks preposterously long.
It looks like a sniper rifle to me. Maybe Doc just like created it.
I mean, he probably did.
So he shoots him down, and then confronts Biff and is like, I can shoot the fleas off a dog's back at 500 yards, Biff. So they have their whole confrontation.
We learned Biff this is where the $80 comes from.
Yes, that Biff made Doc shoe his horse, then didn't pay him, then got thrown off the horse, then shot the horse, and now Doc owes him for all of that.
Mm-hmm. Doc is like, Marty, I told you not to come. I specifically said, leave me here.
Yeah, but he is glad to see him, which is good. And Marty breaks the rule. He's like, I had to come back, Doc. You get shot in 4 days.
Yeah, like, buddy, come on.
Yeah, but, he's fine with that. Meanwhile, we find out that Doc has made arrangements to meet the new school teacher.
Clara Clayton. Or, no, just Clara, I think.
We just hear Clara, I think, and then later we have the map where it's like, Shonash Ravine. I thought it was Clayton Ravine. And then we, as the audience, are like, no, dummy.
Come on, guys.
They named it after the woman who died in it. Which is a pretty terrible thing, by the way. It's like, it's not like she had any connection to the area. Like, presumably she was like, she lived happily in another place. She comes here to be a school teacher. She dies 3 hours after arriving, not even. And then
it's kind of nice that they actually respected a school teacher that much.
Yeah, that's
brand
fair.
New school teachers,
But it was probably like said derisively, and then over the years that part got lost to history.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Don't
like, don't be end up there in Clayton Ravine. Yeah.
Marty somehow didn't realize that the broken gas tank and fuel line was a big deal.
Sure. Yeah. He's dumb. He doesn't know the word schematic. He's kind of dumb.
Yeah. I guess.
He's a high school senior. He doesn't know schematic. That feels like something he should know. And I love Marty, to be clear. He's just kind of dumb. I also love that Doc has made this enormous refrigerator that makes, like, it does. The output ice cube is one made with dirty water, so it's brown, and also the size of like one normal ice cube that you get out of a refrigerator.
It's like, it was a slightly bigger than that, but it's not quite like a fatty ice cube.
It's like the size of a good ice cube tray.
Yeah. Okay. So they do some experiments on how they can get the DeLorean up to 88 miles an hour. They try doing a horse-drawn DeLorean and using like...
I love in the horse-drawn DeLorean, they have like a team of 6, and Doc's like, the fastest horse is only 35 miles an hour. It's like, well, you're a scientist. Don't you realize that 6 horses aren't going to exceed the speed of one individual horse?
It's not 6 times 35.
Right. It's like, that needs to be almost 3 times, at least twice and a half faster than that one horse. 6 horses together isn't going to do that.
It's just more, they do it for longer.
Yeah.
They try, like, I don't know, was it moonshine in the tank?
Yes. Yeah. And blows up a part of the car.
And then they talk to the conductor about how a train, like, in what way could a train reach 88 miles an hour? And he's like,
right.
Never? You crazy?
Like, I've had it. I've heard it get up to 70, but that's ridiculous.
It's like, I guess you could if you had a real straight stretch of land and a lot of fuel.
Yeah, and no cars to pull.
Yes, and no cars to pull.
So they get their wheels turning on this being the plan. The bridge is out, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But Doc's like, oh, no, the bridge will be there when you get there, which is taking a lot on faith, I feel.
Well, also a lot that, like, there won't be a train there.
Right. And there is a train there. It's just, like, exactly long enough time to get Marty out of there.
Yeah. And then we hear a runaway carriage, and we don't know it yet, but it's Mary Steenburgen. Bergen?
Yeah. I think it's Bergen, but I don't know what's right. And we do this every time she comes up.
We love Mary, but we don't know her name. Some really great horse stunt work. I mean, throughout the movie, but even here.
I was going to say, like, one of the things that I think works best about this movie is, like, it is a pretty fun Western. There's lots of horse stunts. There's great train stunts. I'm not a train guy. Like, I don't have a particular affinity for trains, but I think trains are cool. Like, objectively, I think they're neat, and especially steam engines. And so the ones in the train in this is very cool looking, and it's used really effectively. And there's lots of fun stuff happening. Like, anytime the train's on screen, you're like, oh, cool, more train shit.
Yeah, I would agree.
When we went to Dollywood, they have a steam train, like a lot of theme parks do.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, working our way through the park, have done most of the things we want to do. And I was like, I'd like to ride the train. And we were like kind of hustling, trying to get there for the train departure. We hadn't had water in a while. I was like, let me grab a couple cups of water from this popcorn stand. You go get in line and try not to leave without me. So I grab these waters and I'm like running because the train whistle has blown. And I was like, oh, Jesus. So I'm like trying to run this 200 yards or so to this train. And I'm not wearing a belt. And my pants start falling down. And so I have to like wide leg try to keep my pants up. But they're like, by the time I get to my wife, they are like over the crest of my butt. Like I'm wearing underwear, obviously, but they're like, they are past. She's like, why are you walking like that? I was like, I'm about to lose my pants. Cause I had put one cup of water. I put a cup of water in my mouth to try to pull my pants up several times. And so I had water in my mouth. So I bring these waters. We get on the train. I'm like, oh man, I'm so thirsty. So glad to have this water. And then we hear the toot, 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 toot. And I look down and this train whistle has blown so much charcoal into the air that the top of my cup is just like full of charcoal.
I didn't think about the whistles doing that.
It was like stray flecks and stuff that were in it. It wasn't like, a big hunk, but I was just like, well, I'm going to drink this anyway.
I mean, hey, people drink activated charcoal.
Yeah, that's what I said to my wife at the time. So Clara gets saved.
Love at first sight.
Yeah, Clara wants to fuck this man real bad.
I mean, he treats women like human beings, not objects. And he
that's
has
fair.
A brain in his head. So like
that's fair. Yeah, and they do have things in common. They both
have a
like
lot
science
in common
fiction.
too. But it's also like the bar's got to be like on the floor at this point.
I just find it also I think that's very accurate for Mary Steenburgen, and I hadn't thought about that, but it's also true from Doc's side. And it's like, I don't know, presumably there were women in your science classes, right? I know it was the 50s, but still.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, no, because it probably would have been more like the 40s. So
no, I guess you're right. Maybe there weren't any women. Yeah, there might not have been any women there. That's true. Maybe he truly has never met a woman that likes Jules Verne before Clara.
And this is where they find out they changed the ravine name.
What? Hold on. What? 1930.
So Doc was apparently born in 1920.
Okay. Then there would not.
I googled how old is Doc Brown because I needed to know for my
wife's great aunt was one of the. I don't know. I'm gonna say one of the first, but I don't mean that to mean literally one of the first, but like one of the early women who had PhDs, and she's like 94. But Doc Brown would be 100, so she's. Or 95-ish, so she's older than he is.
Okay.
She had a science PhD. I was just like trying to do the math on how many. There were not a lot of them at that era, and so Doc Brown precedes it. So anyway, flirting. Oh, Marty has to like beg Doc to stop trying to flirt with this woman as they're taking her back to her house so that they can get back to work.
Plans, Doc.
He's like, Doc, you're gonna die. Stop trying to get it
wet. So they form a plan to hijack the train.
It's very good. I love that. I love that it's a train robbery. Yeah, it does. He does. But I just love that the plan is we're gonna rob a train.
All men just want to rob trains.
That's what it is.
When push comes to shove and the opportunity presents itself, men will rob a train.
Here's the thing I was also thinking, jumping forward ahead here when they are like on the train and they're like jumping from car to car and stuff like that. I think that a thing that I have never seen in a Western is like the gang preparing to rob trains, because it's like pretty challenging that they have to do all this athletic stuff.
Maybe I'm thinking they go to like a train yard at night.
Oh, that's a good idea. I was thinking that they would have like logs that they set up the distance of train cars and make them jump log to log in the woods or something.
Oh, that could be. But I figured I think they're breaking some law. They're breaking into the train depot.
Maybe that's the move. Clara comes back. She
needs her telescope fixed. But the way she's describing it being broken sounds like the way telescopes work. She's like, if you twist it this way, it gets out of focus. And when you twist it this way, it gets in focus. I'm like, isn't that
how it works?
I haven't looked through a telescope in a very long time, but I know binoculars do that. So
yeah. Mostly she just wants to get close to Doc and reach around him and touch him.
Do a little ghost with a telescope.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, my
Love.
astronomy.
Oh,
I started to do that joke and I was like, there's no lyrics in the song about Clay, you idiot. And I was like, well, we're too far gone now. This is the bit I've committed to.
so they go to the town festival to celebrate the clock being built. Like it's not even installed.
It's a
clock tower.
fundraiser to help pay for the clock.
Got it. Okay.
Is that on the flyer that the
Also, this town has got to have what, like 100 people in it at most.
I think it might be closer to 200, but yeah, it is a small town.
It's wild that they're like, we'll pay you. You will all donate things and then pay money to raise money for the clock.
Yeah, it is rather silly. I also love I wish I brought my camera. And then we hear the like clunk of an old timey photo going off.
The old timey like T flash bulb thing.
Yeah. Honestly, that's what the photo op should be in Universal Studios in front of the train or the DeLorean with Doc Brown.
That would be cool. Like they should look like an old timey thing.
Yeah. Make it do a little smoke effect. I think that would be fun as hell. People would love that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
It also reminded me of an idea I had.
Is that still there?
I mean, I did it. I have a picture of my wife and I with Doc Brown.
Oh, well, I know he walks around sometimes, but I didn't know if the
train, as far as I know, is still there, but the photo op has always been with the DeLorean.
Is it in front of the train? I remember of it.
They're close to each other. I think you can see the train in the picture that I have with Doc Brown and my wife. We're all doing the like watch thing. But it also reminded me of an idea I had at my bachelor party that I didn't end up doing just because we were doing other stuff and having fun. And I was just like, hey, whatever. But I wanted to do the old timey photo thing.
Is that a thing?
Each of us? Yeah. And I wanted to have us each wear a different outfit, like from a different era.
Wait, are there different? I thought it was all like Western.
So there's like Western, and then there's like mobster, and then there's like something else similar. And I was like, one person doesn't get to change clothes, probably you, because you dressed the funkiest of the crew that was there. And then like
I was pretty tame that day.
One of us is Old West, one of us is mob, one of us, each. And then the sign you hold up is International Time Travelers 0th Annual Convention.
I think it's cute.
It's a good idea. I like it. So they get their photo. We find out Doc can dance. He's like really cutting a rug with Clara here.
With Clara, they're very cute together.
They are very cute. And then Marty gets sidetracked into a pistol demonstration from the cult people. Turns out Marty is a crack shot because of all the video games he plays.
But then they're like, also he's just good at aiming anything he throws. I'm like, all right, I will let you have that. The light gun at the arcade makes him good with a regular gun. I'll let you have that movie. I'm not giving you that he also is like pinpoint accuracy with a pie pan.
Although, don't we see Marty frisbee something in another Back to the Future movie? Is this not a callback?
Oh, maybe it is.
Maybe I'm making this up.
It could be right.
I do love the idea that like your video game stuff translates, because I don't love the idea that your video game stuff translates, because if that's true, if guns are ever required of me, we're going to be in real trouble. I can't aim for shit in first person shooters.
Yeah. Old ones, yes. New ones, no.
Even old ones, I've been playing through the Nathan Drake games, and the number of times I get smoked in a combat thing and have to redo it is embarrassing.
Oh, I mean like old, like I was just started playing Time Splitters 2 just became available on PlayStation Plus.
Okay.
I played that game like to death as a child.
I do remember. We played that together sometimes.
I played that with anyone who would play. Like me, the neighborhood kids.
Yeah.
And so with my boyfriend last night at my birthday, I was like, I want to play a little bit. I want to see how much muscle memory there is in this. All came back. Immediately, I was like, I remember exactly what each level is. I burned through like 5 levels very quickly.
That's funny.
But I can aim in that one really well in that one.
Yeah, I can't aim for shit. So Tannen and his gang roll up. A deputy tries to get him to turn in their guns. They give the guy shit. Then we hear a gun cock, and the marshal is there. The marshal is also Principal Strickland in the other Back to the Future movies.
It's the same actor?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's also the thing he says, discipline, is Principal Strickland's like thing.
Yeah.
So it's like connected that way.
But also, I love that Biff is like, pretty tough talk for a man with a gun at my back, and he's like, I'm like you, I will take every advantage I can get. And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I want from people today.
Yeah.
If no one's playing by the rules, you don't play by the rules.
I had never seen this particular deleted scene, but there is a different version of this. I don't know if it comes later or it's just a replacement for this version of the scene where this marshal confronts Biff and the Tannen gang, and then they kind of agree to go their separate ways. And the minute the marshal turns his back, Biff shoots him dead in front of his child.
Jesus.
And his dying words to the child, it's the same line where he's like, remember, discipline.
I'm so glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, it is better in the movie the way it is. Biff comes in, confronts Doc, pulls his little tiny gun on Doc, and then gropes Clara while dancing, basically. It's a grope dance.
And then she kicks him in the knee.
Yeah, not bad. I thought it was going to be the nuts. It would have been better.
Would have been so much better.
Marty earlier was like, hey, a Frisbee, because that's where the original Frisbee came from, a pie company. And so he uses this Frisbee.
Except they spelled it differently. It was they spelled it B-I-E back then, and then they changed it to B-E-E.
I think B-E-E is cleaner.
I agree.
Because I could see people thinking it was Frisbee.
Well, it's like the pen company Bic was B-I-C-H is the real spelling of the last name, and they were like, we are dropping the H because
you got to. I would bitch.
Mm-hmm. Chef
Who wants a
Boyardee
bitch
also
pen?
changed his name, the spelling of his name, because people wouldn't know how to pronounce it.
Isn't that one like real Italian where it's like B-O-I-A-I-R-D-I-E?
Yeah, it's a lot of
kind of
I's.
Yeah.
The Italian language loves to throw I's at things.
Yeah. So Marty knocks the gun away with the pie plate, and then Biff starts confronting him. And this part actually drove me a little crazy because, like, we all know Marty gets called a chicken, calls him to action. He can't walk away from anyone calling him a chicken. But he calls him Yella, and I'm like, this doesn't mean anything to you. Like, you know this by historical context, but, like, who cares?
They don't,
like,
yeah.
It's using old slang.
But it does lead to scheduling the shootout, which is one of my favorite moments. It's so funny.
It's Michael J. Fox's best two-line performance in the movie, and I love him, and I love this movie. But this part is great.
Well, even Biff.
Biff too, yeah.
I'll kill you tomorrow. Well, we can't tomorrow. We're doing the robbery. We'll do it Sunday. No. Well, we have this. Well, do we have anything Monday? No. Okay, fine. Monday.
Yeah. And then the whole, get what? I'll see you at noon? No. 7, I do my killing before breakfast. 8, I do my killing after breakfast.
And people are like, ooh.
And then ZZ Top as the band, not touched on or explained, but it's just ZZ Top for no reason. But I love Doc being like, Marty, what if the train's late? And it's like, Marty never even considered that the train could be late. And it's like, oh, right, he's from California. He doesn't know anything about public transport.
No.
He's fully car-pilled. He doesn't know shit. Meanwhile, Marty, standing up to Biff, or Mad Dog rather, has made every man in town just fawn over him. He gets a free
throw
gun.
gifts at him.
Yeah, he gets a free gun from the Colt guy. And I love I want people to know that the gun that killed Tannen was a Colt. Of course, if you die, I'm going to take it back.
Well, he also gets a bandolier or bullet belt or whatever.
Yeah. The gun belt. Yeah.
And then Marty learns that he was named for one of his ancestors. It was Seamus's brother, who also couldn't turn down a fight.
My hothead brother Martin never met a fella he couldn't get into a fisticuffs with. It's so ridiculous. I could not get over how bad it was, and that they kept coming back to it.
I mean, hey, they have the makeup.
Yeah, no, for sure. Meanwhile, Doc and Clara get together again, and they both have a mega boner for Jules Verne.
And Doc lets his future show a little bit when he's talking about space travel and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yes. When I first read the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea as a boy, you couldn't have been a boy. It came out 10 years ago. It's pretty good.
Yeah. We then cut to the breakfast machine in this era, and I love that you can tell that the cast iron skillet, this is not the first take, because the cast iron skillet is already so hot that the egg whites start to cook immediately as soon as the eggs hit the pan.
Yeah. Well, maybe Doc is smart enough to have.
Well, no, because it gets dragged onto a burner.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and then we get a flash of butt.
We do. We get like an top third of cheek, I guess it is.
Yeah.
Through the button of his pants flap. Yeah. And then Marty starts like playing with the gun, doing taxi driver stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You talking to me? Meanwhile, Doc is doing. I guess it's not a walk of shame because he's in a good mood and
stride of pride.
Sex. But they didn't even. Yeah, but it's mostly a man obsessively sniffing a boutonniere.
They're measuring Marty for a coffin.
Love this. I love the guy. He's like, I don't want a suit. He's like, oh, son, this is for your coffin.
And then we see Doc's name has disappeared from the photo of the tombstone, but the tombstone is still in the photo.
Yes. And this is where Doc reveals that Marty got seriously hurt in a crash or killed in a crash. It doesn't really say.
So, yeah, be careful of it. He ominously mentions an accident, which is not, we don't know what it means. It's not part of the canon we've seen.
Right. He tells Marty that he wants to stay behind, that he's in love with Clara, and that he likes it here. And it's like, I don't know, man. If you cut yourself wrong, you're going to die from it here.
Yeah. Also, your teeth are going to fall out.
Yeah. No dentistry.
And water is gross. Like,
yeah.
No one's boiling their water.
Doc must be okay. Like, he must have adjusted already. I guess he's been here for some time.
We don't know how long he's been there.
Well, I thought that they said how long he's been there.
They might have, but I don't remember. I just know that they didn't send Marty there the day he arrived for some reason.
Right. I think it's been a couple months. Marty tries
to talk him out of it, and
it's like, let's take Clara with us.
And Doc's like, we can't do that. I always tell you not to mess with the past, and I have to do the same.
And it's like, well, you already did. This woman was supposed to die.
And also, like, isn't you staying in the past, like, that's probably messing with the past?
Well, yeah, I would think so.
Unless it turns out you're always all along supposed to have gone into the past and stayed in the past.
Yeah. I think his thing is, like, if I stay here in this small town and live an unremarkable life, like, it's very little I can do to change things. But he already prevented Clara from dying. So, like, he's fucked with the timeline egregiously.
Yeah.
So he comes clean to Clara, tells her the truth. She's like completely laughing at him, doesn't believe this, and then slaps him.
How dare you lie to me?
Doc Brown goes into town. He's going to get drunk. He's very sad. But he mostly just bloviates while holding whiskey, which is something I can relate to.
Yeah, that is a fun reveal when they're like, how many drinks has he had? Because it's morning now. And he's still talking, and he's holding a whiskey glass, and he's like, that's the one I poured him last night. He hasn't touched it yet.
Yeah. Marty wakes up alone at the camp. He comes to find Doc. I love in the morning when he's like still going on and on with these guys, where he's talking about automobiles and no one having horses.
He's telling everyone about the future, which, again, Doc, you messed up the timeline.
Right. And Bertram, is that the guy's name? Buttram? The voice
Pat
guy?
Buttram.
Is like, this line has lived in my head forever, where he's like, what about running? He's like, well, people run for recreation, for exercise. People run for fun. Every time in my life someone has been like, I'm gonna go for a run, in my head I'm like, you're gonna run for fun?
It's a good one. Marty shows up to grab Doc, and he takes a swig of his whiskey and apparently collapses, passed out after one sip of a drink. One drink.
Now to be fair, this is probably like Everclear. So it's probably three shots. It's probably like 3 shots of alcohol. It's probably pretty strong. But he falls down completely drunk. And then I absolutely love, I haven't watched the movie in a long enough time that this felt fresh to me, but they're like, we got to make him some wake up juice. Wake up juice is a Bloody Mary without the alcohol.
I was thinking that. I was like, this looks
exactly what it is.
Like a Bloody Mary.
They just make a Bloody Mary.
Which, like, hey, yeah.
No, of course.
Doc bursts, jumps up to drown himself, but is still asleep. It'll take 10 minutes for the wake up juice to kick in, apparently.
Yeah, gotta have a ticking clock, of course, so that we can get through to the next segment. Meanwhile, Clara buys a train ticket. And then we're gonna. This is slightly out of order, but out on the train, the guy from the bar last night, who's like, "You sir, look like you have a broken heart. I sell barbed wire, and for some reason, I'm in here to talk about your broken heart."
I thought he was going to sell some snake oil. I was like, no, you're selling a real product.
Yeah, I thought we were getting, Dr. Bertram's one-of-a-kind elixir. Put hair on your head, grow the biggest tomatoes you ever seen, solve all your problems, that kind of thing.
Yeah, cure your heart.
But so he is on the train being like, I met the saddest man last night. It's the worst broken heart I'd ever seen. He goes on, and finally Clara whips around, and she's like, did he have the most brown puppy dog eyes you ever seen? And just like, hey, Clara, maybe we start with a name. Maybe we use a name.
Yeah, come on, Clara.
Maybe we don't do your pornographic description of him and we have a name.
And then she stops the train, hops off, and just starts running.
Mad Dog comes to the outside of the bar. He's yelling for Marty.
Finally calling Marty a chicken doesn't work.
And Marty's like, he's an asshole. It's like, yay, personal growth.
Yay.
Marty tries to concede. He's like, I withdraw. You win. And the Tannen gang has to explain to Biff what this
what
means.
Forfeit means.
Yeah.
So they sneak out the back, except the gang gets Doc, and Marty has to, sacrifice himself. Immediately gets shot, and everyone's sad.
Yes. It's a trick, though. He's got cast iron on his chest.
Frankly, I wouldn't have tossed. He hits Biff with it once and then throws it. And I'm like, you could probably hold on to that.
I also find it very funny. Like, look, I love Michael J. Fox. Always have, always will. But like, my man's like what, 5'2", $140 in this movie, $150.
Is he that short? Is he 5'2", you think?
I think he's a very short dude. I'm not sure of his. He might be 5'5". I'm being exaggerative.
Because I always thought Christopher Lloyd was just tall.
Christopher Lloyd is tall, but Michael J. Fox is also short. I'm going to Google, see if we can get a height here. 5'4", the internet says.
Okay.
So he's as short as my wife, which is not very tall. But he's like he hits Biff with the cast iron, Biff goes down, but then Biff pops back up, and then he just starts throwing punches. And like Thomas F. Wilson is like a pretty big dude. I don't know his actual sizes, but he feels like a 5'10" to 6 foot dude with some bulk. Not like, I'm not saying he's a fat man. I'm like, he's like a normal sized human. He's, for his height. And Marty just like throws haymaker after haymaker after haymaker. And it's just so funny because he's such a little guy.
Yeah, he's a little guy. He's teeny. He's so small. But he beats up Doc. Or no, he beats up Biff, rather.
He does not beat up Doc. That's a different movie.
Right into some manure.
Yeah, when he stands up and spits it out, it's very clearly just a bunch of chopped up spinach.
Oh, yes it is. It is frozen spinach in his mouth.
Yeah. But the stuff on the outside is like green hay. They do a good job.
Now there's no name on the picture of the tombstone, because at one point Clint Eastwood's name was on there, because that's what he's been calling himself in the past.
Yeah. Well, he also physically breaks the tombstone at one point when he's fighting Mad Dog. So like destroys it entirely. So they resolve the thing with Biff. The police come and take him away. The other gang runs away, but the cops seem to chase those guys down. Now it's like, all right, let's do the train stuff. At this point, we're at like a minute or an hour 30 into the movie. Yeah. About the 90-minute mark. And it's just like, hey, we're just going to do like a 20-minute train sequence, gang. It's great. Right? To be clear,
it's a good
I think
one.
It's awesome. It's really good. I like all of this. I wouldn't take any of it out or change it. But it's very funny. I kept being like, wow, this movie is really 2 hours long. I don't remember. And it's like, oh, that's because there's a 20-minute train sequence that in your head takes 20 seconds.
Yeah. Your brain definitely fast forwards that.
Yeah, but there's some incredible horse stunts. The getting onto the train from the horses is great, and then
running along the top of the train.
Yes. Getting to the front, putting the masks on, hijacking the train, uncoupling the train, all that stuff, and then for whatever reason, probably because Doc knows how to drive a train and Marty doesn't. They're like, Marty, you drive the car. I'll climb along a moving train and jump onto the car.
Someone has to do it, right?
But wouldn't Marty be the obvious choice, being like a lithe youth?
Yeah, or Marty could have been on the hoverboard, I guess.
So true. Could have been hoverboarding along the way.
It should have been Marty has a water skiing rope and the hoverboard under his arm. He tosses him in, clips the hoverboard to his legs, to his feet, grabs the water ski rope, and just jumps off. And Doc wheels him in, like reels him in like a fish.
100%. Also, I really love the moment where after they hijack the train, Christopher Lloyd does a huge train whistle, and then he leans back and he's like, "I wanted to do that all my life." And you can tell by the look on his face that is true both for Christopher Lloyd, the character, and Christopher Lloyd, the man. Yeah, 100%. I don't know if the line was scripted, but the reading of the line is the man Christopher Lloyd saying it for sure. Which I get. I would love to pull a big train whistle.
So Doc has these science magic log fuel replacement things. Real hand wavy.
Yeah, well, it's like, I think they're just supposed to be like, this burns at this temperature, so it tells us we've gotten hot enough. But it's just very hand waved as to how that works.
And this is where we get into the video game QuickTime event section of the movie. Where he's like, call out when it hits the color. It's like 100%. I can see the X, the circle slowly shrinking onto the X button until you hit it. Mary Steenburgen jumps onto the train as the first burst happened, and she goes like parallel to the ground, which is great.
Yeah, she's like a full Superman pose.
And the smoke changes colors for each burst, which I think is great.
Right. Yeah, visual cue for the audience. Meanwhile, Doc's about to jump to the car. She pulls the train whistle, and he's like, "Wait, what?" Flip around. There's Clara, and they're waving like a maniac. Yeah. Meanwhile, the boiler explodes.
It feels so exciting, intense, this whole thing.
Yeah, it's great.
The engine gets destroyed beautifully. It literally looks like a cartoon where like the smokestack is like in like fingers broken apart. Clara and Doc are left dangling, and hoverboard to the rescue.
Yeah, Marty slides the hoverboard back, and they catch it, and then they just kind of float off to safety. And then we get the coolest stunt in the movie, and probably the one that Zemeckis, I'm just guessing, was most excited for, which is that they blow up a fucking train.
It looks so good.
It's awesome. It's fantastic. The DeLorean gets pushed back to 1985, and moments later, off the end of the unfinished bridge goes this locomotive. Big explosion.
Marty goes back alone, and because all we see is Clara and Doc floating away on the hoverboard.
Yes. Yeah. And then meanwhile, like, we hear the like ding 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 ding. The train is coming. Marty is like looking. I will say, this is probably how they were coached, but all these extras are like very chill watching a human about to die. Like, I think if I saw this, I would be going waving my arms.
So I think they're confused because the like ding ding ding, the train is coming, so the arms are coming down, and then a DeLorean with train wheels comes by.
That's fair.
Like, I think that's what it's supposed to be. It's not, they don't see the train coming. They're like, wait, what?
Yeah, that makes sense. That they're just confused. But it just feels like, I don't know, man. I feel like I'd be like, there's a train coming!
Also, now it's called the Eastwood Ravine.
Yeah. Well, because they thought he died. Everyone thinks he died in the explosion.
Yeah. And Doc kept that story alive, I bet.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
And then the train comes and destroys the DeLorean. Marty jumps out at the last minute.
Very, very sad. The car is all destroyed here. This is very clearly a, like, we're not making any more fucking movies.
Yeah, right.
We go to Marty's house. We see fake Crispin Glover again.
But way less obvious this time. It's just in the back.
He is so far in the background of the shot. Yeah.
He almost looks like today Corey Feldman.
Yes, he does.
He's got that face.
Yeah, no, he totally does. It's very, very, sorry, Corey, plasticky.
Yeah, angular. And then I was like, oh, right. Elizabeth Shue is in this movie, and not nearly enough.
Right. 5 whole seconds of Elizabeth Shue. He wakes up Jennifer, and then she's like, I had the strangest dream, which is very funny because later she pulls the fax out of her pocket. And so it's like, was this a test? Were you testing Marty?
Yeah,
like, what was this? Yeah. Needles shows up, Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He tries to goad him into a race. He says no, but he does something even more dangerous, which is put the car in reverse and accelerate rapidly and do a donut.
I guess if he's looking behind him in the rear view, you know.
Yeah, it just feels like you have way less control moving backward. Of course, they see that they would have gotten into a collision, and then Elizabeth Shue pulls the fax out, which is now completely blank.
And that's the fax that
You're fired.
You were fired while old Leah Thompson was making Pizza Hut.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hard to keep everything straight.
It is. They go to the crash site. He finds the burnt photo. Marty's not in it, but Doc is, which I find very funny.
Yeah, right?
And then, what's this sound? By God, that's the time train's music. Doc Brown has created a time train. He and Clara and their two boys, Jules and Vern, going on all sorts of adventures.
Your future hasn't been written yet.
Of course it's blank. The one little kid points at his penis because he has to pee, it seems.
I missed that.
Oh, really? This is like a famous thing from this movie that people talk about.
Oh, okay.
He like clearly points at his junk and then time train away. The end. Very clearly, no more of these. The end. I was unsure how I was going to enjoy this because it's been a long time. I have these movies like deep in my heart. I will always have fondness for them, but it's like, oh, you're going to enjoy this. And I saw it was 2 hours and I was like, oh, I really wish this was an hour 40. But I do kind of still wish it was an hour 40, but I really love the how.
But I don't know what I'm cutting. Movie. That's the thing.
Yeah.
When I say that, I'm like, oh, you can cut this. I'm like, I don't know what I want to cut.
Right. Because it's like there's like probably 30 minutes of action, all of which is very good. And then the plot does take 90 minutes. So I think you could probably cut some of the denouement where he like wakes up Jennifer and they have the race. Like, I don't know that stuff's all that.
The race could have been dropped, I guess.
But it does show Marty character growth at the end of a trilogy, which people want. And I get that. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what you cut. I love this movie. I think it's great. I always love this movie. Yeah. In the past, I've called it the weakest of the three. I don't think I feel that way now. I think maybe it's the second, but I love all these movies pretty equally. It feels like one big long movie to me.
It does, yeah.
Hearty recommend from me, although, as you said, not really easy to find, although the Blu-ray set is not that expensive, so pick that up. I'm sure it's on 4K as well. Before we let you go, we'll do our little pitches here. Do you want to just like take turns?
Sure.
All right. Do you want to start with Lega sequel?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You want to go first?
Okay. So for a while, the internet was very into the idea of RDJ and Tom Holland doing this.
Yes, I do remember this.
And I kind of took that and flipped it.
Okay.
So my thought is that Marty and Jennifer's son doesn't believe any word his dad said. His dad was a crazy person.
Okay.
Dad died in the accident. So Elizabeth Shue is here because I don't think Michael J. Fox.
Wait, what accident?
The accident that Doc talked about.
Oh, okay.
He is a nonfiction writer.
Okay.
He's an adult. He's in his 30s, like the age he would be practically if they had a kid shortly after this. Because they're, 18 in this movie?
Yeah.
So he's like 30-ish.
Okay, yeah.
Doing a book talk. Everyone wants to ask about his dad because his dad tried to sell stories because Marty's dad was a writer, so the writing thing becomes a thing.
Yeah, okay.
He's like, it's like Hill House. He's like, I won't answer any questions about my father. If you have questions about, the Battle of Gettysburg or whatever the fuck he's writing about.
Okay.
And then after his book talk, a 20-year-old comes up to him and says, my name is Jules Brown and I need your help. And he is the child of Doc Brown, who's only 20 years old, but has grown up in a time machine. So is brilliant and has experienced 1,000 lives.
Yeah.
And so the roles are reversed where it's an older guy as the I don't know anything, like a young 20 something, like 20, even younger than 20, maybe 19 is the Doc character.
Okay.
And they have to do something to save, I don't know, Doc and Mary Steenburgen. Maybe they're stuck in a time loop or something.
Okay.
And so he has to learn that his dad was telling the truth all these years.
Sure. I like that. That's interesting.
And Elizabeth Shue is there.
Elizabeth Shue is there. She's just tacked on.
She's the mom. She could do stuff. I don't
know. So my Lego sequel idea is, it's got to be. I was thinking based on timeline, it's got to be grandkids. But I guess you're right that they don't have to be grandkids necessarily. But in order for it to be Hollywood Lego sequel, I think I want I think not. This is not what I want. I think this is.
Well, the problem is so I think of Ghostbusters as sort of a blueprint, but the men in in Ghostbusters, they were in their 30s, so it makes sense that they would have children who have children within the 30 plus years in between films. So that's where your brain is a little wiggly on that one.
Yeah. Because Marty, let's say Marty's 20 in 1990, that makes him 55 now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So maybe Marty's kid was later in life. It's got to be a teenager. I had said grandkid in my notes here, but I think it's a kid. But I
mean, theoretically, it could be. He could have had a kid young who had a kid young.
Yeah, let's either or. We'll figure that out as we have. Yeah, Doc has passed away.
Okay,
and we're like opening on the funeral of Dr. Emmett Brown, and then we're at Doc's house and we're like cleaning up. And as far as Marty,
robot dog now,
sure, I like that. As far as Marty is aware, Doc destroyed the time train after he came back because nobody should have that much power.
Okay,
and
so at some point in your timeline, Doc came back with his family and then destroyed the train, and they just lived here forever.
They did. Yep. Yeah. That is the timeline I'm establishing. Mary Steenburgen's like at the thing. Jules and Vern are there. They're older than the kid in the front of my narrative here. But we did have some overlap. And so the kid finds a secret passage to the train, a la the Ghostbusters like a sequel where they like have a secret clause. Finds the train and it works. The train has never been destroyed. Doc stopped using it. He didn't lie about that, but he couldn't bring himself to destroy this precious creation. But everyone else thinks the train is destroyed. Mary Steenburgen thinks it's destroyed. Marty thinks it's destroyed. The kid activates the train.
Accidentally?
Yes.
Like a Tron situation?
Yes. And now Marty's kid is back in time. And so the only thing that they can do is rebuild the DeLorean. They have all the schematics and stuff, and then they should go after the kid to try to bring the kid back.
So Marty has become the Doc character in this?
Yes.
Okay.
And Marty can't travel. He's too old. He's like, I can't do it. So Doc's kids have to go.
So he sends Elizabeth Shue.
He sends Doc's kids. But yeah.
Okay.
So that was mine. Yeah. And then Marty like ultimately decides, I actually have to go. It's my kid. And then they like go get the kid and bring the kid back.
I like that.
My Gremlins 2 idea, tougher to do now, but what I found so fun about this is like basically the rules of Back to the Future are like the time machine has to be wonky and like the time machine can never just work exactly how you want it. That's part of the whole gimmick. So the time machine's always broken in some way. And then the fun of the movies is like we're in a different time period and we do this thing. So in the version of 4 that I think would have probably been made Gremlins 2 style in like 95 would have been the malfunction ends up sending them sequentially through a bunch of weird periods of time, kind of like what happens in the ride. So like
okay, so we had similar plots for this one. Similar.
So it's like we're in the swinging 60s. Holy shit, that's a dinosaur. Is that Jacques Cousteau? Like, that kind of thing.
Okay. So mine is similar. Mine would be back to the multiverse.
Okay.
Because Doc has realized that time travel is too dangerous and stressful, but because there's timelines that can get messed up, but multiversal travel is less stressful.
Okay.
So he has invented a multiverse machine that, and here's the best part, identifies their closest genetic counterparts in that universe and dumps their brain into their body for 20 minutes or an arbitrary time frame.
Okay.
So it would drop them in, and that way it's only Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd for the bookends, the 5-minute bookends.
Okay.
But then, like, they jump to one universe where it's like, I don't know, Doc is Tilda Swinton, and Marty is, I don't know, McKenna Grace, the kid from, I don't know. I'm picking names. But, like, it would just be like, boom, we're in a new place.
Like Quantum Leap.
Kind of Quantum Leapy, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Or Everything Everywhere All at Once, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they would be just jumping through time, like, and he would just have it be time periods, but we're calling them multiverses because then they don't have to worry about
Right.
screwing up the timeline. They're just jumping into a new body. Yeah.
Yep. That is actually weirdly similar to the pitch. I think is actually a pretty good idea and something I wouldn't be upset if they announced this. Are you familiar with the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles?
I know that exists.
So the gimmick of that show is that Indiana Jones, in this case, played by an actor playing like an old version of him. So it's not Harrison Ford.
So he's playing like geriatric Indiana Jones?
I think geriatric might be older than this is talking about because this show is from the early 90s. So it's probably like 50s, 60s year old. So it's Doc Brown now, like Christopher Lloyd now. Mm-hmm. And the show is like the Brown family's adventures through time.
The Mary Steenburgen, Jules Verne, okay.
Yeah. And so the show is animated, but much like a Life with Louie or a Bobby's World, you have a live action intro and outro. And so the live action intro is Christopher Lloyd and maybe Mary Steenburgen occasionally, right? Like if she's around and wants to do it, happy to have her. This is also how you can get Michael J. Fox in for a little bit. Mm-hmm. They introduce the adventure that Doc and the family is going to have. And then we cut to the animated version and we have, Christopher Lloyd can do the voice of Doc Brown or someone else does, whatever he's up for. We have animated adventures where they sort of Wishbone style.
Magic School Bussy.
Yeah. They like go through time and experience these things and like Doctor Who-y kind of like fix things and help people and do stuff.
I like that.
And then and then what this allows you to do is like a couple times throughout the series, again, if they're up for it, you have like the time they went back to Hilldale and picked up Marty and Jennifer, and then they had an adventure with them. And so then you can have, Michael J. Fox in the wraparound with Elizabeth Shue, and they're like, having a glass of wine and being like, oh man, remember when you came to visit us and we went on vacation to the, and then it's like an animated episode, and they don't have to have Michael J. Fox do the voice if he doesn't want to. And then you have like a Marty episode, right? Like there's a fun little thing. I would actually like to watch that. I think it would be bad. It would be bad, but I would enjoy watching it. And I think it would be like very easy to make.
I mean, it could be. The Gremlins animated show is cute and not offensive. So it could be.
Yeah. To be clear, I don't want them to make anything, but that idea of the things we've talked about, because the thing that they would make is more like our first ideas. If they were to do something like I just described, I'd be like, yeah, I mean, this is fine. Like, it's not hurting anything. It's like giving some work to people I like. That was where I ended up. I'd like to hear yours, though. Sorry.
See, my favorite is my multiverse one.
I thought it was interesting that you came up with a similar sort of episodic television version, which maybe shows just how our brains are wired for this era.
Yeah. I don't have much of a pitch for the last one, but like, I just want to know how Doc and Marty became friends.
Okay.
Like I need to know what the fuck happened. Like, why is an 18-year-old and a 65-year-old disgraced scientist?
I think you are treading into prequel problems territory where it's like there's no satisfactory answer to the question you're asking.
I mean, it can be boring. I don't mind if it's just like he was a substitute teacher at the school, or like he was a teacher at the middle school or something. Like,
but that would be really weird. If they became friends. If a substitute teacher befriended a 17-year-old boy, don't you think people would be like, what the fuck?
I mean, it's weirder to have no explanation, I think.
I think the fact that they don't explain it is why it works, because it's just like, oh yeah, they're friends.
I don't know. I want to know why. I want an answer. That's what I want.
I think Marty had to do a report for school, and he had to interview like a prominent citizen. And he interviewed Doc Brown, who everybody thought was a crackpot, and he had a fun time at his house, and that's the answer. But even that is like, well, wait, why are they friends? That doesn't make sense. You can't have an old friend. You're a child.
Yeah, I think I would prefer the multiverse one the best. But honestly, like our version, I mean, I think I prefer my Lego sequel idea to yours, just because it's a little, but I also went a little off the rails of a Lego sequel.
Yeah.
But I don't think I went too far. I still think it would be like, they would green like that.
I mean, I basically pitched the Ghostbusters Afterlife. Is that what it was called?
That's one of them.
I basically pitched
Frozen
the same
Empire,
gimmick
Afterlife,
there.
and another one.
Frozen Empire is the cold one. So Afterlife is the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Are there only two? Are there three? There's two.
There's two. Yeah.
Okay.
And then they retroactively made the 2016 one Answer the Call, I think.
They did, yeah.
Yeah. I think it would be somewhere between the thing you and I pitched, but just like while I was watching the sequence in Ghostbusters, I didn't hate it. Like I have an affinity for kids oriented adventure films. Like we grew up on those and I like those, and I think a lot of people hate them, and that's fine. My beef with the Ghostbusters is when they like CGI ghost Harold Ramis all over the place, I just found that very tasteless. But the parts where it was just like the ghost of Harold Ramis isn't there, but is like moving lights and helping the kid, I was like, this is good. Yeah, I was like, this
moving
is
the chess pieces.
This is respectful and tasteful and like is nice. And if you reused a clip of audio from the first movie at some point as a whisper ghost, I won't even be mad about it. And then instead they were like, no, we're going to hire a man and then make him a ghost. And I was just like,
or recycle commercial footage. Like the ghost of Harold Ramis turns on a TV and it's like him saying something.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah.
We'll look out for you or something.
Yeah. That they do, don't they do that almost exactly?
I don't remember.
I think they almost exactly do what you described.
I'm still hung up on photorealistic Slimer. I don't like it.
But yeah, to be clear, I don't want to see a Back to the Future 4.
No.
I don't think we will while Zemeckis is alive and Spielberg is alive, but I do think they will not be cold before it is greenlit.
Nope. Do not think so.
Which the funny thing to me is you could just make this movie like an unlikely duo time travel adventure and just make it, and people would either respond to it or they wouldn't. But it feels like a very doable premise that you don't need to put Back to the Future on to make work.
It was the known quantity, kid.
Right. Anyway, I love this movie. I love this whole trilogy. So seek them out if you can. Send us your movie pitch ideas, your Lego sequel, your Gremlins 2, or the thing you think might actually be worth pursuing over on Blue Sky or the Facebook page. We'd love to see those. Thank you so much for listening to the show, not just this episode, but gosh, 10 years now. Some of you have been around. So thanks so much for taking this journey with us. We've never taken a break like this before, so it'll be uncharted territory, but
yeah.
Like we've said, the plan is to be back, and we, are aiming to be back. If something happens, we will keep you all posted, but big life changes coming, and we haven't taken a break for 10 years, so we're taking a little vacation.
Well-deserved and overdue.
Yeah. So we're going to recharge and refresh. But if you want to keep getting episodes of the show, we will have another episode in February on Patreon. It'll be Vegas Vacation. I don't think we've decided what April and June will bring, but when we have those, we will post about them and let you all know. But yeah, we're going to be doing Vegas Vacation by the end of the month. So take a gander over there for that. And at least 26. I think it actually is closer to 30, but I haven't counted lately, and I don't want to just arbitrarily pull a number out. But it's well over 24 episodes you get instantly when you sign up at the $5 level. You get access to all of that, and you get the original 78 or 79 episodes that we have not yet reposted. You get access to all of that as well, so you can get even more of the podcast if you've never heard those episodes, and you already like us. You can listen to those because that's where the audio quality was not so good. Rock band microphones, yeah. So thank you so much.
Over a Rock band microphone.
Yeah, not really the best equipment, but from the bottom of my heart, thank you for listening for the last 10 years plus. This has been a very cool thing to be part of, and have people listen to it is really special. So we're very grateful.
Yes, thank you.
So I'm going to say until next time, but I don't know when that will be. I have been Tripp Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until the next time here on the main feed.
Don't you forget about me!
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.